Hello, is anyone there? Welcome to our second live class for the Zelen English Study Club. So, Merry Christmas. It is Christmas week. And tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and then the day after is Christmas Day. So we are actually doing our class a day early this week, and we're going to do the same thing next week because actually next Wednesday is New Year's Eve, and next Thursday is New Year's Day. So we'll do the live class again next Tuesday, but then after that, in the new year, we're going to start our regular schedule of doing every single class on Wednesday. And as usual, if we have any changes, we will post it in the Cacao Talk group. So, is anyone with us yet today? If not, then we are actually going to post this just like we post every video, so you can watch it anytime. All right, so first for a warm-up, if you're there, you can share any plans that you have for Christmas. Oh, and it looks like somebody is trying to get in. So give me 1 second here. Perfect. So we're sharing the live in the YouTube or in the Cacao Talk room. So I think a couple people are going to be coming in. Hi there. Thank you so much for joining. And we have somebody else who I think is on the way right now. So Merry Early Christmas. This is Christmas week, so we are doing our live class on Tuesday. And we're actually going to start by doing a warm-up question. So if you have any plans for Christmas, then let me know what your plans are. And I'll briefly share mine, and then we're going to do a schedule update. And then after the schedule update, we're going to jump into our worksheet, and then as usual, we'll finish going through our words of the day. And we are also going to do some live shadowing during the class like we do every time. And so you'll get listening practice and as well as speaking practice during our live class. So if you have any fun plans for Christmas, let me know. It'll be a good way to practice typing in English. And tomorrow, Zach and I are actually going to Seoul, and we're going to see a ballet. So I'm really excited because when I was a kid, I actually did ballet, and it was a really special time for me. So I really love going to see the ballet around Christmas, and it will be my first time doing that in Korea. So I'm really excited, and then on Christmas Day, we'll just stay home and open presents from my family because my family sent some presents from the U.S. because in the U.S., Christmas is such a big holiday. So we always exchange gifts. All right, so let's jump into our schedule update here. Give me 1 second. All right, so if you can see my screen, today is the 23rd, so we are doing our live class right now. And we're going to go through breakdown the phrasal verb. And then we'll actually post the next material tomorrow, even though it's Christmas Eve. And you'll have a little bit of extra time. And so we'll get back into basic and native, and we're doing just forget about it versus let it go. That's our basic and native pair. And then, of course, we'll keep doing our words of the day, but we're actually going to skip Christmas Day because it's Christmas. So we'll give everybody the holiday off. And then I'm really excited because the next week after that, we're doing our first cheat sheet. So we have the American Coffee Shop cheat sheet, and I think that's going to be a really useful resource. So I'm interested to see what you think about our first cheat sheet, because after that, we'll do the American Restaurant cheat sheet next month. And I think that'll be really, really useful for people who are traveling. All right. Making sure to check the comments. As always, if you have any questions throughout the segment, you can always type them in the chat, and then I'll check it occasionally and get into it. So what if we just go ahead and jump right into our material? So this is our first phrasal verb week, and we're doing breakdown. So in English, we use so many phrasal verbs. Actually, since we've started doing the Zellen English phrasal verb videos, we've done a lot of shorts on phrasal verbs, and I've started noticing when I speak English that we really do use phrasal verbs so often. We just use them constantly. And some phrasal verbs have up to 8 or even 10 definitions for the same phrasal verb. And sometimes we use them in totally different ways. And they're really common in English. And so we're hoping that this series helps you guys learn the difference between these phrasal verbs. Because if you stick with us and you learn the phrasal verbs every time we post them every couple of weeks, it's really going to help improve your English. One sec here. All right. So, our phrasal verb this week is breakdown. Did you guys see the worksheet? So, breakdown, we actually have 5 definitions. So, this is actually a little bit lighter than some phrasal verbs. And someone's telling me that the mic isn't great. So, if you can't hear me, let me know, and I'll try to make sure I speak a little bit more clearly. Okay. So, we have 5 definitions of breakdown, and we'll go through each one. So, the first one, to break down, is to physically, break something into smaller segments. And I'm so sorry. It sounds like we're having issues with the mic, and so we're going to fix it, and I'm going to come right back. Just a moment, please. Okay, sorry about that. We're back, and hopefully you can hear me a little bit better now. So I am just going to keep going. Okay. Oh, I see. It was echoing a lot. So sorry about that. Okay. Is it a little bit better? If it's better, give me a thumbs up. I'm going to keep going, and if it's still bad, then I'm going to have somebody come in here and help out. So anyway, back to the first definition of breakdown. So we use breakdown when we're actually breaking something down physically or figuratively. So like our first sentence here, the teacher broke down the math problems into simple steps. So if something's really difficult or confusing and you say, oh, can you break that down? It's better now? Perfect. Thank you so much. So glad the sound is better. Okay. So if something's difficult or confusing, you can say, can you please break that down more for me? And it would basically be walk me through, part by part, one at a time, break it down from something big into something small. And it's similar to something breaking down physically. If we look at our second sentence, plastic can take hundreds of years to break down in nature. So this is this first definition of breakdown. It's the most literal meaning. Okay, so let's do some shadowing. So repeat after me because I want us to get some English speaking practice. The teacher broke down the math problems into simple steps. One more time. The teacher broke down the math problem into simple steps. Perfect. Next, repeat after me. Plastic can take hundreds of years to break down in nature. Plastic can take hundreds of years to break down in nature. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so next definition is to break down crying. Now, this is totally different, right? The meaning is so different than, breaking something apart. And it's sort of like to lose control emotionally. And if somebody breaks down, it usually means to start crying. So she broke down when she heard the sad news. So a native speaker hears that and knows that this means she started crying. Or he broke down in front of his friends after the stressful exam. So if somebody just broke down, they started crying. So let's do shadowing. Please repeat after me. She broke down when she heard the sad news. She broke down when she heard the sad news. And next, repeat after me. He broke down in front of his friends after the stressful exam. He broke down in front of his friends after the stressful exam. And in the second time, try to speak as quickly as possible so your mouth gets used to these words. So this one's pretty straightforward, right? And straightforward kind of means easy, simple, straightforward. To break down, if somebody breaks down, it means they started crying. So next, now this is if a machine breaks down, and it means to stop working. And this is also very, very common. So my car broke down on the highway. And I would say that breakdown is most commonly used for cars, but it can actually be any big machine. So it could be a washing machine, maybe a refrigerator. If you're at work and you have a big copy machine, you could say the copy machine broke down, or we call it a copier. The copier broke down. Any of those machines can break down, but we use it probably the most for cars. So the washing machine broke down last night. Again, this one's pretty straightforward. If a machine breaks, we usually don't say it broke, right? We wouldn't say my car broke. It sounds awkward. We almost always say my car broke down. So let's do shadowing. Repeat after me. My car broke down on the highway. My car broke down on the highway. The washing machine broke down last night. The washing machine broke down last night. Great. All right, now this next one is interesting because it's a little confusing. And it's actually a noun as opposed to a phrasal verb, but since it's the same word, we want to teach it so you have a full understanding of breakdown. So we call it having a breakdown, and the breakdown is a noun. And it basically means to just be so overloaded with stress that people say, oh, I'm having a breakdown. And it's interesting because it's similar to the crying, right? But it's not exactly the same. So let's look at them together. So if she broke down, that means she's crying. If she's having a breakdown, it means she's stressed and overwhelmed, but not necessarily crying. So to break down is to cry. To have a breakdown is to be overloaded with stress and worry and not be able to function, basically. So it's interesting because just the small change in how we use it changes the meaning. So after months of stress, he had a nervous breakdown. And sometimes people do use that full phrase. They say a nervous breakdown, but it's also okay to just say a breakdown. After months of stress, he had a nervous breakdown. Or I'm having a total breakdown after failing the exam. It's like I'm so stressed, I can't handle this. So let's do shadowing. Repeat after me. After months of stress, he had a nervous breakdown. After months of stress, he had a nervous breakdown. I'm having a total breakdown after failing the exam. I'm having a total breakdown after failing the exam. All right. Good job, everyone. And so our last meaning of breakdown is for something to sort of just fall apart. So it's actually a little similar to the first definition. And this first definition is where something is physically or figuratively breaking down. It's a little similar to that, where basically you're working on something, you're communicating, you're trying to make a deal, and it starts going really badly and it sort of falls apart. So it's not like taking something apart, it's when something sort of figuratively just falls apart. So the deal broke down because neither side would compromise. So is this one clear? Because I feel like this one's the most confusing. But basically, if you're working with someone towards something, like you're trying to agree, and then it starts going really poorly and it falls apart, it broke down. The communication broke down. So, and for this, it usually is related to communication. So our communication completely broke down during the project. So everyone was confused, right? The communication was not going well. Something bad happened and it fell apart. All right, so repeat after me. We'll do shadowing. The deal broke down because neither side would compromise. The deal broke down because neither side would compromise. Our communication completely broke down during the project. Our communication completely broke down during the project. All right, so those are our 5 meanings of breakdown or broke down, past tense. So let's get into our comic. So hopefully this comic has been helpful. And it's kind of a fun way to show all the different meanings in one story. So I'm going to explain each one and then we can do the shadowing also. So on the way to work, my car broke down, right? His car broke down. That's the most common way to say it's not working. So he says, oh my God, my car broke down. And then he gets to work and his boss is having a nervous breakdown because he's so stressed. By the time I arrived at the office, my boss was having a nervous breakdown. And he says, this doesn't look good. And the boss says, I'm having a nervous breakdown. How can I handle this? So something really bad is happening. So then he apologizes. I'm so sorry, my car broke down unexpectedly. He didn't expect it to happen. And the boss is upset. Where were you? The deal totally broke down. So they were working on a deal with a client at work, and because he wasn't there because his car broke down, the deal also broke down. Where were you? The deal totally broke down. I tried to break down why I was late, but because I missed the big meeting, negotiations completely broke down with our client. So here's another use of breakdown, right? That was the first definition. I tried to break down why I was late. So he tried to explain to his boss why he was late in simple steps. by saying, "I'm so sorry. My car broke down unexpectedly." So then he's so upset that he goes and he breaks down. That means he started crying. "I can't believe this is happening. Hopefully no one sees me breaking down at work." So he's breaking down at work. He's crying, and it's embarrassing. He doesn't want anyone to see him. "I was so stressed that I broke down crying." So that's where the mental breakdown, having a nervous breakdown, stress, and then breaking down, crying is similar but a little bit different depending on the wording. Okay, so for fun, let's shadow our whole story here. We'll do our story at the bottom, not the speech bubbles. So repeat after me. "On the way to work, my car broke down. By the time I arrived at the office, my boss was having a nervous breakdown. Let's break this up because it's really long, so repeat after me. I tried to break down why I was late. But because I missed the big meeting, negotiations completely broke down with our client. I was so stressed that I broke down crying." All right, good job, everyone. So we used all of our definitions here in this one comic. So let's move on, and then we have the Korean translations here if you need. So let's move on to our next exercise. So if you did these already, the exercise is to choose the Korean definition just to try to get it more familiar with yourself. So I'm going to go through these and I'll read the sentences, tell you what the answer is, which you can actually see with the translations on the next page. But I'm just going to explain the sentences if there's anything confusing. And if you have questions, then please type them in the chat. So, number 1, my washing machine broke down yesterday. So, this is number 3 here. It's a machine and the machine breaks down. So it means it broke, but we don't say broke. We say broke down. Number 2. The teacher broke down the problem into 3 easy steps. So this is our number 1. So the teacher is writing on the board, breaking down the problem into steps. Number 3. She broke down crying after hearing the sad news. She started crying. So that's number 2. She broke down crying. And then number 4, he had a nervous breakdown after months of stress. Actually, when I was a kid, my mom used to say this if we were being really loud and making her stressed. She would say, "I'm going to have a nervous breakdown," because we were being loud and bad kids. So number 4, so that is number 4 here. Number 5, the peace talks broke down after only 2 hours. They were trying to make peace. This sounds like it's during a war. Countries are trying to negotiate and find peace. And very quickly, it broke down. It didn't go well. So it fell apart. They're not having peace. Okay. Number 6. After days without sleep, he finally broke down at work. So this is an interesting one. So we have number 4 here. And so he broke down at work because he's stressed. And what's funny is if you say it like this, talking about stress, it makes you think of the mental breakdown, even though it could also be crying. So this one's a little tricky because it could sort of be both. And then if we get to number 7, my old laptop broke down again last night. His laptop broke down. Number 3, because laptops and computers are machines and they can also break down. She broke down the recipe. Number 8, she broke down the recipe so even beginners could follow it. So she's cooking, right? It's a recipe. A recipe is for cooking, and it's maybe complicated and big, and so she broke the recipe down into simple steps so even beginners at cooking can understand. So that is number 1 for 8. 9, the trade negotiations broke down over money issues. So again, their negotiations broke down. It's our number 5 here. And then finally, number 10, he broke down crying when he saw his childhood home destroyed. So sad. He started crying. He broke down. All right, so we have a lot of examples here, but there's also a lot of definitions, and hopefully it's starting to become more familiar to you. And then our next exercise was a little more challenging, and it was full translations that we had you do in English. So your answers, of course, don't have to be perfect, but generally we put the most common English translation here. So this is one where I know in the class maybe it's a little tough to ask. If you have a question, you can ask, or you can always ask me in the Kakao Talk chat if you are confused why we have the English this way, if your sentence was different. So I'm just going to go ahead and we'll read through the sentences to make sure they're familiar. And because we had the technical problem, I'm going to go over by about 5 minutes, okay, to make sure we get through our words of the day. So don't worry about the time. All right, so let's go through these sentences with breakdown again. The elevator broke down again, and everyone had to take the stairs. And let's do shadowing. Repeat after me. We'll do it one time. The elevator broke down again, and everyone had to take the stairs. Nice. Next sentence. Let's break down the project into smaller tasks we can finish this week. Repeat after me. Let's break down the project into smaller tasks we can finish this week. Perfect. And next, he broke down after hearing his friend's voice on the phone for the first time in years. So he started crying. Repeat after me. He broke down after hearing his friend's voice on the phone for the first time in years. Perfect. Next, after losing his job and his apartment in the same week, he had a complete breakdown. Repeat after me. So he had the mental breakdown, right? He's very stressed. After losing his job and his apartment in the same week, he had a complete breakdown. It's a long one. Okay, and then finally, last one for our phrasal verb today. Talks between the two companies broke down over the price issue. The talks fell apart because they had a problem. So repeat after me. Talks between the two companies broke down over the price issue. All right, perfect. So that is our phrasal verb sheet. It's a little longer than our basic and native. Hopefully you found it helpful. And now let's quickly touch on our word of the day. So we had 4 this week. We'll go through, review again, do a little bit of shadowing to practice sentences, and then we'll wrap things up for today. So if you have any questions or thoughts, make sure to let me know in the chat. But let's jump into our words of the day. And is this big enough? Let's make sure. Let's make a little bit bigger. Perfect. So our first word was blunt. And blunt is a common word. So It means somebody's so direct. Like if you say, they're really blunt, it's someone who just says what they think. And it can even be a little rude sometimes because they're not, they're not softening their words. And there's another definition that also means not sharp. Like if a knife is blunt, it means it's not sharp. So let's do some example sentences. I have some new ones. So we'll do shadowing again. Repeat after me. I'll be blunt with you. I don't think this plan will work. One more time. I'll be blunt with you. I don't think this plan will work. Perfect. So you're telling someone they have a bad idea. Their plan's not going to work, so you're being blunt. Next, repeat after me. She's very blunt, so don't take it personally if her feedback sounds harsh. One more time. She's very blunt, so don't take it personally if her feedback sounds harsh. It's a long one. And so to take things personally, like don't take it personally, it means don't get upset. It's not about you. It's not because she doesn't like you. She's just very blunt. So don't take it personally if she's harsh, like she's too strong. So blunt. Next, errand. This is another one that when I was a kid, my mom used to say errand so much. She would say, oh, I have to run errands. And it's a really common term. So I've always heard this so much. But it's just anything small done outside the home. So if I say I need to run errands today because I need to go to the bank and then the post office and then the grocery store, that's running errands. So let's do some shadowing. Repeat after me. I need to run a quick errand before dinner. I need to run a quick errand before dinner. Next, repeat after me. Can you grab coffee while you're out running errands? One more time. Can you grab coffee while you're out running errands? So you're leaving the house to run errands. Can you grab coffee? That means, can you buy coffee at the store? Can you grab coffee? All right, just a couple more. Soft skills. So soft skills is a really common term used in the workplace, but it's usually only used at work. So this is almost like business English a little bit, but any company or industry, you can talk about soft skills. It's communication, people skills, like public speaking, empathy, basically anything that's not a technical skill. So these are very important because a lot of work is leadership and working with people. So especially in American work culture, soft skills are really important. So repeat after me. We'll do some example sentences. He got promoted because of his strong soft skills. He got promoted because of his strong soft skills. Next, leadership roles rely heavily on soft skills like empathy and problem solving. Leadership roles rely heavily on soft skills like empathy and problem solving. And we're doing some pretty advanced sentences here, you guys. So if they're a little bit too much, that's good because it's challenging. If you're keeping up, then you're doing really well because these are more advanced sentences for sure. All right, and then this is our last one, and then we'll wrap things up for today. So red flag, and we just posted this one tonight. So a red flag is a warning sign about usually some person or something, but we use it a lot for people. We use it a lot talking about like a friend or dating. If they do something small that sort of shows something bad about their character. Or it could be about a company. Like if you're interviewing at a job and the interviewer is unprofessional, like they show up late and they're rude, that's a red flag that maybe you don't want to work at that company. Maybe it's not a good job. So this is really common. And the opposite is a green flag. Like if somebody does something really kind early, you can say, oh, that's a green flag. I think they're a really nice person. But red flag is more common. So let's do our 2 example sentences. Repeat after me. It's a red flag if a company avoids answering basic questions. It's a red flag if a company avoids answering basic questions. The way he talked about his ex was a major red flag. The way he talked about his ex was a major red flag. So this is like if someone goes on a date and they're talking about their ex and saying bad, mean things about their ex, it's a red flag that they're, had a bad relationship or they just always blame the other person, right? That's a common red flag on a first date. All right, everybody. So that is our material today. I apologize for the technical issues, but I hope that you learned something from this. And we'll be back next Tuesday with our next class. In the meantime, thank you all so much for joining, and I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas. Good night, everyone.